broadcast. They either need reel-to-reel, or they just don't have access to anything at all. There's one program that we actually can send out because we've got it in slide format. With we can send a script if anyone is interested. So I'm thinking of like Goldiet Salzman in Talkeetna, because she has access to no video equipment, but she might be able to, round up a slide projector. But that would be fun. Well, I've forgotten now who said this after the workshop, and it was one of your thank you notes. And someone said, well, now we've got all the ideas and we're manned with all this enthusiasm and so forth, and now it's kind of up to us to follow through on it. And that brings to mind something. We got a very nice letter from Joe Schubert, and he apparently was thinking quite a bit about the workshop as he was on his plane back to Chicago and then into Columbus, Ohio. And one of the things he mentioned was he hoped that on the video broadcast that we would follow up some of those ideas and follow up especially from your point of view. So what I'd like to do, and the local people in the studio here who have done some last-minute, very quick work with rigging us for interaction today, I'd like to ask, I think, Betty, if you're in Petersburg right now, I think that you and I talked about this a little bit, and at the time of the workshop you hadn't really gotten started yet, with a course, but I'm wondering if we really wanted to work with some kind of follow-up, and a number of you have mentioned, well, is it possible for the coordinator of the project to visit? If I were to visit you, do you think there's anything that I could do to help you, like with the selection policy, or have you even gotten started? And that's a question of not just for Betty. It's really a question for everyone. So, if Betty's there, I'd kind of like to hear what she says about that. One of the bad things about going home from a workshop is sometimes there's kind of a letdown, and you feel like it's over, and sometimes it takes a little encouragement to get started again. But a lot of you did some good groundwork with getting started in that last working session. Okay, we're starting to receive someone. I believe we are. Betty, are you in Petersburg? She told me that she hates it when I put the finger on her this way. I should.
Sheila?
Yes, Betty.
This is Betty.
Good, we copy you.
And you're right, I do hate it when you put the finger on me. However, your question about, can you hear me now?
Yes, very well.
Your question about book selection policy. No, at the Petersburg Public Library, we don't at this time have a book selection policy. And we would be delighted to have someone come and assist us. Right now, the way we select our books for purchase is from ideas that patrons give us, primarily. Right. And, of course, this doesn't give us the most complete or best book selection.
Right.
We also could use assistance in weeding.
We didn't really get to that, did we?
No, we didn't, but that's something we need down here.
And I don't remember, Betty, if it was you, or if, in any event, even if it wasn't you, it could have been another member of the group who said, in the same concept of weeding, like what do we throw away or what don't we keep, the same concern was expressed over gifts. Am I right? I don't know if that was you, but would you need maybe some help from us in that area too?
Yes, that's true. We do need help as far as gift books.
Great. I'm not sure, Betty, right now. What I'm doing is kind of probing the idea of whether or not it would be possible for me to travel. I'd love to do this, number one, but I want to make sure that the purpose of visiting the small community libraries would be one that would help you with something you really felt you needed to do and would also enhance your course. And so this is a possibility, and we're kind of playing around with the idea of what we would do. Incidentally, I want to ask you, because you were just getting started at the time of the workshop, have you had a chance to send a lesson in yet and get anything back from Joe?
No, Sheila, I haven't. I'm working on the lessons, but I have not sent anything in as yet.
Okay, let me tell you something that's kind of funny. There are a couple of gals here in Juneau, and they're going to laugh when they see a copy of this program. But they've had their first assignments completed really for several days, and I am assuming they probably even have typed them up. And they're a little scared to send them in. And I think that's so funny after visiting with Joe. And so I've been visiting with other people, who have sent them in. And this is for everyone who has their assignment all ready to go and hasn't sent it in yet. Joe is not critical at all, and the kinds of things that he writes back on your papers and so forth really ought to be helpful. So don't worry. And Betty, I know in your case it was a matter of getting to it. Well, okay, let's try. I don't want to cut you off, but I think that we probably have some gals in Tanana, and I want to kind of ask them really the same question. The idea of visiting Tanana seems pretty exciting to me, but I'm wondering if Luvia or Lori are in Tanana, so let's give them a chance to respond.
Luvia, I'm reading you now, but I just got you in, so I don't know what you've been talking about.
Oh, Luvia, thank you. She says she just got us in. I'm sorry that you missed the slides of the workshop. In fact, we'll have to make an effort to, maybe this will be one of the kinds of programs that we might rebroadcast, Luvia. What we did was show the slides taken at the workshop, and there are several slides of Lori. And what we've done right now is talk about follow-up from the workshop. And Betty Watson in Petersburg and I were talking about what kind of help, if it was possible for the coordinator, for me, to visit your local library, what kind of help would you like to have that related follow-up to the workshop and follow-up for your course or helping in your course? You don't have to, comment on that if you don't feel, since you weren't able to be at the workshop. But is Lori there too?
I'm the only one here right now. Lori had a fill-in job to do for someone, and Snooks is working too, so I'm the only one who's been able to see this one. And I'm sorry, I thought you were only on the air just a couple of minutes, and I must have missed quite a bit.
Okay, our new broadcast time may be giving you some trouble. I hope that isn't it. We go on, it's 3:15 your time, from 3:15 to 3:45 for you. So it was what we really had was the slide presentation, Luvia. Last broadcast, go ahead.
Well, I'm sorry I missed it. I don't want to take up too much time of yours on the air and make you repeat everything for everybody else. We would really appreciate a visit anytime from anybody, and we need so much help. It's just impossible to go into it all. We're losing our school and community library are combined, and we're losing our school librarian, and all sorts of things are going to be kind of in turmoil. And after I find out about whether we will have a regular librarian, we would need help in just the same sort of thing that other woman was speaking about, weeding and trying to set up a system for checking what we do have on our shelves, make sure we have catalog cards for everything that's on our shelves, and that sort of thing.
Okay, I can see that that's going to be an involved kind of thing, and it'd be something I'd love to be able to help you with. Although Mary Matthews, our regional coordinator, will be able to help you too. I'm going to ask, this is really embarrassing, I'm going to ask if someone could bring me a glass of water right now because of the amount of coughing and so forth that I'm starting to do. We'll get the slideshow up to you gals, though, up in Tanana anyway. I'm going to pause just for a moment here, and I'm going to get a glass of water and give someone else a chance maybe to call in. Well, thank you for your patience. I'm going to take the earphones off right now. I think that we really are in communication with maybe just the two sides today. And the questionnaire that we sent to those of you who do receive us live, what we're really trying to get in the course of that questionnaire is what are the difficulties you encounter in interaction, and what are the things that make it easy for you. One of the questions I did not ask on that form, but I'm very interested in right now, is do you usually request the local utilization aide to be with you during broadcast time? Because if you do not, we'd like to make arrangements so that that person can help you. Now, I know that each of the communities is really different, but if you're experiencing any kind of technical difficulty, like I think Nancy Bosco indicated to us that she was going to try to transmit, and she laughed at herself and said, well, if she just pushed, one of the right buttons, she would have been able to do that. But would you please take time to comment on those forms that I asked you to hold until after this broadcast, and comment upon the joys and sorrows of interaction? And I'll really appreciate that. And if you mention whatever the local circumstance is with a utilization aid in your area, that would be useful too. There are a couple of other things that I can bring to mind right now, and for those of you who are not racing ahead in the course, I hope this doesn't make you feel bad, but you may want to take a couple of notes on what we're talking about. Last program, Mary Claire Sherman and Mary Matthews talked about some topics in lessons 9 and 10, and those were topics that had to do with local library association, which is ACLA, and the local publication, which was Sourdough. They both also talked about the American Library Association and so forth. So that information exists. Now, if you missed that program and find yourself getting into lessons 9 and 10 and kind of floundering a little bit and wondering, wow, that you maybe need some help, I'll be glad to follow up and give you some help in those two areas. Something else in the same lesson that someone brought to my attention is the whole issue of certification. Now, certification is something that maybe Alaska has not been something you've been involved in discussion-wise, or maybe you have. But basically, it's a standard for certifying people to perform certain jobs in the library world. There's also a model for certifying particular library communities. And at this point, Alaska does not have certification requirements. And your actual assignment goes quite lengthily into this, because you're asked, does your state have a certification system? And then is it voluntary? What libraries and what positions does it cover? And when was it adopted? And the questions go on and on down this list. And if the answer to the first one is no, then all the other questions don't seem to have a lot of value for you. So what I think I'm going to do, maybe to help you, is I think I'll prepare something for you to see what other state certification standards are like, because some of them are very definitive. Some of them are very brief. For instance, Kansas has just a very brief one. And another state, I think California's, is very extensive. And I think one of the things that must come to our mind, we talked about standards so much at the workshop. American Library Association standards suggest, they imply at least, that in order to meet the state's needs and goals in library service, that we must have a system of certification. Now, I've had a chance to visit with Dick Ingen and Margaret about this. And I think the current situation, to just generalize for Alaska, is that at this point we're more interested in service in Alaska, and maybe it's really a little premature to talk about what particular educational requirements librarians should have, when we may have volunteers working in libraries, and at this point we're interested in service and interested in opening up the facilities in the first place. And yet we may find ourselves wanting to consider certification more thoroughly, especially as it relates to size of community. So I think what I'll do is prepare kind of maybe something like we did on library law, so that you can have some background in order to answer the question, because the answer to the question right now is no. But it wouldn't give you any exposure at all to the kinds of things that I think Joe was hoping you'd look at. I just got a note that Niniana, our friends, are there, and I don't know if it's Nancy or Dorothy or both, but I'd like to talk to either one of them or both of them if I can. And we don't have a lot of time left, but why don't I hush for a second and see who would like to say something. I have questions for both of them, but thank you, Nancy Bosco, for the note.
Oh, this is Nana.
Ninana, we copy.
Okay, this is Dorothy speaking.
Hi, Dorothy. One of the questions we asked Betty Watson was, have you had a chance to do any follow-up on the workshop yourself in terms of, did you carry that policy effort any further for, your library, either in Anderson or if Nancy's there for Ninana? Have you had a chance to do that?
Nancy said they've had it at their meeting. We haven't had a meeting. Anderson hasn't started.
Okay. Dorothy, I didn't ask you this before, and I don't remember where you were during workshop time. Have you sent in an assignment and got anything back yet?
Well, I'm one of those that I guess pretty about it. I'm still hanging on to it. I'll get it off, though.
Okay.
I have 1, 2, 3.
She says she's one of those people I was talking to, one of those people who's got it but really hasn't sent it in yet. Well, Joe is just really, he's met you now, and he's anxious to kind of help you get started. And I'm really not here to push you. I just wondered if you'd received any back, because those people who have said that it's a very simple process. Well, okay, it's good to know that your radio was working and so forth in Indiana, and for a chance to talk to you. And I think there is another comment that I should make. It's a follow-up to the problems we're really having with interlibrary loan. And this isn't an excuse, and it's not really an answer to our problem. But one of the reasons why it seems like there is such a lengthy period of time for some of those materials to get to you is that I counted just the other day, there are 12 people excuse me, taking this course who aren't officially in the Institute. So that means there are 42 people enrolled. So the books are going a lot longer distance than they were before. Well, at the risk of running through a lot of coughing for you again, we're down to the very end of the program. I am going to sign off, and I will appreciate you returning the the voice, returning those forms as soon as you can. Thank you for your patience.